let's look at Revelation. Since we're looking at the beast and all this stuff, let's look at Revelation, talking about the beast out of the sea, and look at history and see if any of this stuff has actually come to pass. Let's do that, shall we? Now, I'm only going to look at the beast out of the sea because it's going to be 15-minute long, if not longer. I'm trying to keep these condensed. But all this works with all of it, every bit of it. And you don't have to dig through old dusty manuscripts and find a footnote and then go, is did this fulfill prophecy? Maybe. No, it's right there in the open, bold as it can be, saying prophecy has been fulfilled. I can tell you, when I looked at this, I had a friend. I still got a friend. We're still friends. She was telling me years and years and years ago that so and so was the Antichrist. Then she was saying this guy's the Antichrist, and this guy's the Antichrist. So I decided, you know what? I'm going to see what is all about this, the Antichrist. But before I read Revelation and before I looked at Old Testament prophecy, I decided, hey, you know what would be a good idea? To look at the geopolitical climate that was around Judea and see if John wrote this after 93 AD, after the destruction of Jerusalem. And spoiler alert, no, he wrote it prior to the destruction of Jerusalem because the geopolitical context does not support after. But spoiler alert, but regardless, that's why I looked at the history. And then after looking at the history, but just between Rome and all I did was look at from Julius Caesar to destruction of Rome or destruction of Judea. That's all I did. That's it. I didn't dig very far. That was it. And then when I went back and looked at Revelation, it's like, oh my goodness, look, it all falls right into place, every bit of it. There is no conjecture, there is no speculation. That's already happened. And let me show you such a place that it's like, wow, how about that? So let's get started. Now in Revelation 13, you see the beast. You know, you have the beast out of the sea, and then who people say is the Antichrist, which is the beast out of the land, even though beasts cannot be people, they're nations. Here you have the beast out of the sea, and it says it has 7 heads, 10 horns, it has 10 horns, 7 heads, 10 horns, 10 crowns, and it has the name of blasphemy. Now going on to Revelation 17. We see the scarlet-colored beast. It's the same beast out of the sea. How do we know? Because its name's full of blasphemy, having 7 heads and 10 horns. It is the very same beast that is spoken of in 13. Now, who is the great whore? Well, that is Judea. That's the southern kingdom. And this is no stretch of imagination to come up with, because when you look at Old Testament readings, God calls Israel a whore. Oh my goodness. Such whoring and whoredom and whoring are all over the place of whoredom. So much of a whore that when the northern kingdom fell and he had the southern kingdom, he said, yeah, northern kingdom's so much of a whore, Israel so much as a whore, but her sister is also a whore. Talking about Judea, the southern kingdom. It is such a whore that God made one of his prophets marry an actual whore named Gomer to show him just how it's like being married to those whore people. So yeah, it's no stretch of imagination to say that. Getting back on topic. So you got the whore, and let me point this out. It can't be Judea, it can't be Jerusalem, because it sits on many waters. Well, she's on many waters because if you go down here, she sits upon the scarlet-colored beast that comes out of the sea. That's how she's sitting on many waters. So she gets her power from the scarlet beast out of many waters. So that's no great stretch either. Now, if we go down here to 9, And here's the mind which has wisdom. The 7 heads are 7 mountains on which the woman sits. Now you can get any denomination with any theory on if this is if it's already happened or if it's a futurist view. It doesn't matter. You will find people who study theologies within these groups, and you will find people within every denomination say, this is Rome it's talking about. The Scarlet Beast from the sea is Rome. And they'll say that because Rome is known as the city of 7 hills. And they'll all agree this is Rome. Now, if they're futurists, they might say, well, this is the Vatican. But they're still saying this is Rome because it is in agreement and it is historically accurate to say this is Rome. Now, going on at number 10. And there are 7 kings. 5 had fallen. 1 is, the other is not yet come. And when he comes, he must continue a short space. So this is talking about 7 kings. 5 fallen. 1 is, that's the 6th one. The one that comes will only continue a short space, that's the 7th. And then it says down here at 11, and the beast that was and is not, even he is the 8th, and is of the 7, and goeth into perdition. So it's talking about 8 kings in total. Okay? It's got these 7 who are all related. Then you got another one who's not quite as related as they are, but he is of the 7, and he's going to go into perdition. Now, some people will say, that's sin. He's going to go into sin. Oh, that's the Antichrist. No, it isn't. Because when you grab your concordance and you look in Revelation 17 and 11, and you look at the perdition, it actually has destruction. It's not sin. Because when we hit it, it's a different word. It's talking about damnation, destruction. He's going to die. He's going to perish in precocious ways. He's going to be wasted. He's going to be killed is what's going to happen. So getting back to this, you got 5 fallen. 1 is, one's going to be coming in a short space, and another one who's going to be wasted. It's going to be murdered. Now let's go over here to our CIA spy page of Wikipedia, and let's look at our list of Roman emperors. Drop down. Nah, so let me say this. I'm going to say my endpoint 70 AD, right? Because I'm saying this was all fulfilled with destruction of the temple in Jerusalem in 70 AD. It only has to be destroyed one time in order for it to be fulfilled. But getting back to this list, Julius Caesar is not on it. He was not a king. He was headed that way, but he was off by the Senate before it could happen. So we have Augustus 1, Tiberius 2, Caligula 3, Claudius 4, Nero 5. One that is, which would be Galba. One that is not yet, but when he comes, he's only going to be a short time. That's Ortho. And look how long he reigned. 3 months and 1 day. There is your short period of time. And then the other one, which is of the 7, Vitellius, who's going to be murdered, who's going to be offed. Look here. He was murdered by Vespasian's troops. Ta-da! How awesome is that? Now going over here and looking at this, you had Vespasian coming up next, where before you had the Julio-Claudian dynasty, which Vitellius was of the 7, and then after him you had the Flavian dynasty coming after, starting with Vespasian. And an interesting thing about Vespasian, when he was called back to Rome to settle all this turmoil that was going up here with the year of 4 emperors, when he was going up there to dispute all that, Vespasian was actually in Jerusalem taking siege of the city. His armies were surrounded the city. It was under siege. And then when Vespasian was called back, he had to take his army with him. This fulfills where Christ said, when was it Luke 19 or Luke 16, where he said, when you see the army surrounding the city, flee to the mountain. And have you ever thought, if I see an army around the city, how am I going to flee to the mountain? Here's how. Vespasian took siege of Jerusalem. He left, the army left. There was no army around it, and people could flee. Now, when he went to Rome, he stayed and he kept his army. Titus is Vespasian's son, and he was also a general in Vespasian's army. When Vespasian went back to Rome, everybody in Jerusalem got all zealoty. And it's like, hey, check it out, we're winning. Yeah, check us out, we're winning. We're going to beat Rome. Well, they started to be more of a thorn in the side of Rome. When that happened, Vespasian sent Titus with just a few of his troops back to Jerusalem to seize it. But he couldn't send all his army because he needed it in Rome. So Titus got a mercenary army from where? The nations of the north and the nations of the south and the east, and a couple over in the west, that made up his mercenary army that went back to get Jerusalem. How about that? And then when he surrounds Jerusalem, the siege only lasted, I believe it was 5.5 months, if I'm not mistaken. And after that, the temple was destroyed, and there was not one stone left upon another, with prophecy being fulfilled, right down to where the armies came from. How about that? And that's the 5 that was, 1 that is, 1 for a short span, and the other one who's going to be wasted. Ta-da! But no, wait. I'm not done. There's more. If we go down here to 12, we see he also has horns, which thou sawest are 10 kings. And it says there's something special about these kings. They have no kingdom, but they receive power as king for 1 hour with the beast. And this 1 hour with the beast, this is for a very short period of time. Has this been fulfilled in history? Yes, it has. Going back to CIA Wikipedia, oh, and I was looking at this, Judea, Roman province, and then you drop down here. You find a list of governors. This one is vacant because the monarchy was restored. They had a kingdom, and it was restored for 4 years. But the ones who did not have a kingdom, so here you got Pontius Pilate, and notice he reigned for 10 years. But after that, you had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and there's destruction of Jerusalem. And look at the time that they ruled. 1, 4, 2, 2, 4, 8, 2, 2, 2. 1 hour with the beast, and therefore, ta-da! It has been fulfilled, and it's in your history. And if you look at this stuff with the geopolitical atmosphere of Rome versus Judea, starting with Julius Caesar on to destruction of the temple, you will see it there, and it all falls right into place. It all falls like a Lego block that has been clicked right there, and it's solid in its spot. There's no conjunction. There's a conjuncture, rather. It has all taken place. So anyway, I just want to point that stuff out. And this, like I said, this is not the only place you can do it with it. You can do this with all the prophecies and Revelation. Just do a little study, just a study, just a little tiny study between Julius Caesar Rome, and Judea up to 70 AD, and then read Revelation again, and your mind will be blown. I promise you. Promise. You'll be looking at that and it's like, wow, why have they not taught this? Why are they saying it's in the future? Well, I can tell you why it's in the future. They want you to think that God has turned his back on you. If you look at Albert Pike's Three World Wars, and you look at the third, they're going to have the state of Israel and the Muslim Arabic world are going to destroy each other. And what's the end goal of all this? They want everybody to be destroyed. And people who are disillusioned with Christianity are going to be anxious for an idea, and they're going to come to the true light through the universal manifestation of the pure doctrine of Lucifer, brought finally out in the public view. How are they going to do this? Well, they want you to think that you're going to be raptured out of here before any trouble happens. And they'll use phrases like, God's not a wife beater. You're not going to be here for this tribulation. You're going to be raptured out. But when nothing happens, there is no rapture, by the way. There's only resurrection. But they put this doctrine out there and you believe it, and there's going to be these bad guys. You might as well let it happen because it's God's will. We can't fight against it. So when they get all this stuff going on and they tell you you're going to be raptured out and it doesn't happen, and next thing you know, they're going to be saying, oh yeah, looks like your God left you. Did you not serve God faithfully all these years? And he left you. God abandoned you. But there's a God here that won't abandon you, and you can be in his light. And that's how they're going to get you to do it. But folks, it's all been a big fat lie brought about by these 501c3 churches, these Masonic churches. But hey, what do I know? What do I know? I know one thing. I know Revelation's already happened, and you have history that already confirms it. And you could do this with all of it. You do it with all of Revelation up to a certain point. Anyway, folks, I just want to point that stuff out. And as always, please read that Bible. Have a fantastic day.